thank you so much for tuning in to my video diary. This one's gonna be a short and simple one because I'm literally on my way to South Carolina. I'm leaving in about an hour. But I just wanted to get a couple things off my chest. One of the reoccurring themes over this last maybe 2 or 3 weeks is just following my heart. So one of my followers DM'd me the other day asking for advice, and basically what she was saying is that all of these years she kind of followed what her mom wanted her to do. She wanted to be an actress and she wanted to just be a creative and study that, but her mom was just like, look, if you don't go to school to be an engineer or whatever it was, you know, I'm not gonna support you. So basically she went and got her undergraduate degree and she was miserable. She's pursuing a master's now in the same thing and she's miserable again, obviously. And she was just asking me for my advice, and when people ask me for this kind of advice, it's kind of like, I'm gonna tell you to jump because that's what I do. I take risks, but I really truly believe that if you're not doing something that makes you happy, you can excel at it, but you can even be the best at it, but if it doesn't make you happy, what is it worth? You know, time is something that none of us are guaranteed. So the way I look at it, I rather spend my time every single day either doing exactly what I love to do or making a way so that I can do the things that I love to do. And there's so many other things that I could be doing right now. I could be in someone's office pushing papers. I could be trying to be a lawyer like I once was when I was in undergrad, and I'd probably be good at that because I'm a very competitive person, but I know that deep down, you know, that wouldn't make me happy. Yeah, it's about being loyal to yourself and how you feel, and that's kind of one of the hardest things, you know, that we have to do, or that we can challenge ourselves to do, because so many people are always trying to talk us out of who we are, and we start to believe them because we want that support. You know what I mean? If we're doing something, we look to our close circle, which, you know, in a perfect world, our close circle will support us, but not everyone is gonna understand what we have in our hearts, because sometimes we don't even understand it, you know, so you can't really expect someone else to really grasp it and push you to succeed. If they do, that's great, but if they don't, you know, you can't let that discourage you from following your dreams, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's gonna have to sleep with it. You're the one who's gonna have to look back in 20 years like, oh man, when I was in my 20s, I should have did X, Y, and Z, and now, you know, you might have other responsibilities or obligations that makes it harder for you to do. And even with that, you know, I feel like even if you might have made that decision or not made a certain decision 20 years ago, or whatever point you were at in your life when it would have been easier, I think it's never too late to just pick the pieces back up and keep it moving. You know, even if you have to sacrifice, even if you have to, you know, do without certain things, which I guess is sacrificing, but I feel like it's all possible, and you don't need a cosigner. You know what I mean? All you need is yourself. It's like we all have this person deep down inside of us, and this voice, and we know when we're in certain situations, we know we shouldn't be, but for some reason, you know, we keep ignoring that person and ignoring that person, and that person deep down inside you, that's your soul. That's the person who God speaks to. That's the person who kind of has the compass and knows where you're supposed to go. So you have to really get in tune with that person and trust that person, you know what I mean? And it's not always easy because it feels like you can be blindfolded sometimes, but that's faith. You know, you have to have faith that God has already instilled in you everything that you need and all the tools that you need to get where you're supposed to be. And, you know, as far as I go, just this last couple months has been a testament to that. You know, I would have never thought that I would be doing charity events and that people from other states would be contacting me to collaborate. I would have never thought that, but the second that I started listening to that person deep down inside of me, the second that I stopped putting other people above me and other people's opinions before my own opinion about myself, that's when doors started to open for me. It's just really important that you trust yourself, you know? And, you know, mom and dad, usually those are the closest people to us, and we always look to them for acceptance. We've been doing it since we were kids, but at some point, you know, you have to say like, okay, I'm gonna do this anyway, and I hope that you love me anyway, but if you don't, then, you know, that's not a healthy relationship either. Your parents or your friends and your family, they shouldn't make you feel like following your dreams is gonna make them less there for you, or following your dreams is going to make them not respect you. You know what I mean? And if they do make you feel that way, those are probably relationships that aren't healthy to begin with, and you should probably distance yourself. You know what I mean? And not saying like if what you're doing is causing harm to other people or harm to yourself, and then people disagree with that, okay, that's understandable, they care about you. But if they just don't agree with certain decisions that you make, even though it's not hurting anyone, it's called being an adult and respecting other people for their choices. You know what I mean? So it's very tricky, and it definitely takes a lot of courage. But without courage, you know, what chances are we really going to take? We're not going to take any leaps. We're going to remain, you know, stagnant or remain on the safe land. And I believe that sometimes you have to risk a lot to gain a lot. Don't allow people, no matter who it is, to make you feel like you're being disloyal or you're being a quitter because you're making a decision to walk away from something that doesn't work for you anymore. Whether it's school, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, it's like, keep your priorities straight, and your priority is you. And a lot of us, even me, I still struggle with this. I put other people above me, you know what I mean? And I'm not even talking about my child, because that's obvious, but I'm talking about people's opinions. You know, you start to put other people's opinions about you above your own opinion about yourself, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, if you can't live with something every day, or if waking up and going to bed, going to this job every day is just making you miserable, it's no one's place to make you feel like you can't leave. You know, we're not bound by anything. We have a certain amount of time on this earth, and that's it. So what you do in that time here is your decision. So don't allow other people to mold your decision or guilt you into doing something because you want their approval, because at the end of the day, you have to sleep with yourself at night. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you have to talk to God and figure out whether or not you're living your purpose. And if you know for a fact right now, whatever you're doing, it's not your purpose, immediately you need to find out what you need to change and how you can change it, because there's no guarantee, and it will be so unfortunate for you to be on this earth and not be doing what you were put here to do. It's kind of like, what's the point? Don't allow anyone to make you carry guilt. You don't have to carry that, you know what I mean? And so many times we carry all of this stuff that we literally do not have to carry. Let it go. It's okay to not be angry. Don't allow someone else, if you forgive a person, don't allow someone else to make you hold that grudge because it makes them more comfortable, or because they feel a certain type of way about your situation. Do what makes you happy. Don't carry anyone else's baggage. Don't carry anyone else's guilt. Don't carry anyone else's burden. Be as light as you can be, because I feel like being light, that's the only way you can be flexible enough to kind of shake and move and be and do what you need to do. Do you? Because at the end of the day, someone's always going to be upset about it. At the end of the day, someone's always going to have something to say. Someone's going to complain. They're going to talk about you regardless. So what you need to do is make yourself happy and make sure that you're happy. If they're going to talk, be happy while they're talking. Not be upset or feel small, or still not be confident in who you are and what you're doing, because they're going to talk anyway. That's the trick. That's the catch. Encourage Her project was so dope. Like, it's been a week and I'm still kind of processing what happened there. It was just a lot of love. Like, at one point I was just sitting there and I was kind of zoned out, and all I could hear was like laughter. The kids were laughing, the women were laughing, they were joking. I caught one woman taking a selfie, and I just thought, like, how amazing is that? Like, you just literally left a violent relationship, and you're here now and you feel confident enough about yourself and how you look to just really be taking a selfie, you know? And a lot of us, you know, when you don't feel good about yourself, that's the last thing you're gonna do, is take a selfie. And that just made me feel good that I was able to bring that to someone when they needed it the most, you know? And I also did something very courageous and something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I came out to the Insta world that I once was a victim of domestic violence. And it was the most freeing thing I've ever done, you know, because so many times we're made to feel that that's a burden that we have to carry and we shouldn't share with anyone because we don't want our abusers to look bad. It's not about that person. It's not about anyone but you. You know, when I did that, that was about me, and that was something that I wanted to share because I feel like there's so many people out there, and there's so many women and men out there who can relate to me. There are so many people, you know, in our age group who are victims of domestic violence, and younger and older, men, women, children, and we all carry that burden that we should be ashamed, or it was our fault. You know, we hear things like, why would you stay, or why didn't you leave, or why didn't you fight back? You know, there's all these assumptions made about someone who was a victim of domestic violence, and everyone's situation is different. You know, I get that all the time. Anytime I share with like my friends for the first time, or people I might just be getting close with, their reaction is always the same, and it's, oh, you don't seem like the kind of person who would be a victim of domestic violence. And it's kind of like, there is no one person, you know, there is no one set of people who are gonna be victimized. It can be anyone. It's less about the things that I went through and what happened, and more about me moving on and how I can turn something that was so negative into a positive. And I'm just really happy and lucky to be here today at 26 years old, and, you know, able to share my story, and able to be confident about it, and able to no longer carry that burden. You know, there's certain things that take a while to get over, but once you start using something that was supposed to boggle you down and that was supposed to break you to uplift other people, it all becomes worth it. I wouldn't change anything that has happened in my past because I literally would not be the person that I am today. So yeah, the Encourage Her project was a big deal for me. Just being able to stand in front of those women, all of them were older than me for the most part. I think maybe one woman was younger than me, but all of them were older than me, and I was able to talk to them and give them hope and let them know, like, hey, look, X amount of years later, and here is where I am giving back to someone else. So I told them it's your responsibility now to pick up the pieces, you know, to take this reset button and reach back and help some other women who are in your same situation, you know? So yeah, Encourage Her project was big. Thank you so much. That's my heart. Thank you so much to everyone who donated, everyone who just encouraged me, shared the link, liked the post. All of that had a big part, you know, to do with what happened on March 1st, 2015. So thank you guys. This is just basically letting you guys know, hey, you don't need a co-signer. I made a little meme about this on Instagram the other day, and it said, if my heart isn't in it, neither am I. And I really truly believe that if your heart isn't in something, you're not really in it. You know, you're just, it's a facade, you're going with the flow. Make sure that everything that you do, whether it's a job, whether it's just an extracurricular activity, you know, when you're with your children, when you're with your spouse, your mate, whatever, make sure that your heart is there in that moment. And if it's not, really start to reevaluate what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who you're doing it for. And if it's not for you at the end of the day, and if it's not for God, then why are you doing it? You know what I mean? So thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry for rambling, but baby girl gotta go to South Carolina. My father's gonna leave me. Bye guys, talk to you soon.